What's going on, folks, and welcome to episode 255 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for October 17th, 2018. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. And as always, if you guys want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So, without further ado, let's get started right away here with @RebornAgain from Twitter. John Ritland's got some great movie reviews, wrestling talk. Cannot wait to hear his 2 cents on Halloween this week. I know he's seeing it on Thursday or Friday. I know he's seeing it within the next few days because it technically comes out on Friday, but I'll be seeing it tomorrow on the 18th at a sneak peek showing where I work, so I cannot wait to see fucking that. The movie looks amazing. Halloween looks awesome, which I know I even answered a question about it here on the show from John a few weeks ago, but I can't wait to see it even more, so cannot wait to hear his 2 cents on the film on his channel, so be sure to subscribe to his show as well. His first question was, where would you rank Tamina on a list of second or third generation wrestlers? Also, how in the world has she lasted this long with the company despite being injured all the time? That's a great question. If we're being nice here, I would say towards the bottom. If we're being realistic here, it's got to be maybe not dead last. I can't think of many second or third generation wrestlers that were much worse than Tamina. Yeah, maybe fucking David Flair if we're really stretching here, but do we even really count him? I wouldn't. Tamina, for a woman, and he was also here for a cup of coffee. He was here for like 2 seconds. With WCW, yeah. With WWE, barely. I don't even think he had a real run in WWE. I'm going off of WWE here. I'm sure there were worse second or third generation wrestlers in other companies, including Lacey Von Erich, who was fucking terrible. She was a member of the Beautiful People, which was fine. In the ring, though, she was horrendous. Really brought shame to the Von Erich name. So, other than Lacey Von Erich, who is the only other person that comes to mind from recent years, Tamina is fucking terrible. And I honestly do not know why she's still employed. Now, they weren't going to fire her because her dad's a murderer. Allegedly, but let's face it, he is. They're not going to fire her because of that or de-push her. Like, she was never really pushed in the first place. She's only really ever served as a bodyguard throughout her entire career. Whether it was for the Usos or for Santino, AJ Lee, Naomi and Sasha Banks, then Lana. Jesus Christ, that's the only thing this girl has ever done is serve as a heavy for another superstar because she fucking sucks on her own. Tamina is so terrible, it's not even funny. And I don't know how she's lasted this long. She debuted 8 years ago in WWE. 8 fucking years! Tamina's been in the company for 8 years. That's almost as bad. I mean, I know she's won more matches than Rosa Mendes, but that's almost as bad as Rosa Mendes. How the fuck did Rosa Mendes last 10 years in WWE? She was atrocious. Tamina's not that much better. I know she's got the Snuka name attached to her, and her dad's a legend. He's dead now because he's, I don't know. I mean, the murder thing didn't really have much to do with it, but he has since passed on. That really doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I'm just saying, like, the family name was kind of tarnished a little bit with the murder of his of his girlfriend from 30 years ago. It was fucking crazy, so I don't know. But with Tamina, that really, again, has nothing to do with her herself. I'm just saying as a standalone performer, she is atrocious. And there's not many people that I'm going to, like, poop on here on the show. You guys know I like almost everyone on the roster. Even someone like a Big Show, who I was never a fan of a few years ago, because he was always on my TV. He was always turning heel and face, like he did last night, which I'll talk about momentarily. But at least, he didn't dominate programming. Tamina is not dominating programming. That does not take away from the fact that she is fucking awful. So, anyway. And like you said, she's been hurt a bunch of times. I can name at least 2 or 3 times where she has spent nearly a year on the shelf. So yeah, she's been with WWE for like 8 years now. She has spent at least 3 of those years on the shelf. She was out from like April of 2016 to April of 2017. She's been out since the Rumble before she returned on Raw this week. And I know she's been hurt before that though. She was hurt, she had to have been hurt in like 2011, 2012, 2013. Yeah, she was. She definitely was. She got hurt during the whole AJ Lee storyline in 2014. She disappeared for a long time and then came back as a bodyguard for Naomi on Raw. So yeah, she has been hurt for like a year each, almost a year each, every single time, 9 to 12 months. That's like, okay, so she's technically been in WWE 5 years, if we're being technical here, because 3 of those years she spent on the shelf. With a lot of these people, they get hurt once and they give up on them. Oh, they're injury prone. Dude, Tamina is injury prone and she's awful. That's the worst combination. She's bad in the ring. She's bad on the mic. Remember that one promo she cut on SmackDown about a year or so ago? It was like during the build-up, or maybe it was in the rematch for the Money in the Bank briefcase on SmackDown. I don't remember. I think it was before the SmackDown Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. The rematch that happened on SmackDown, they had like a build-up episode to it the week before, and they did a promo pitting all the women against each other, like talking about who deserves the briefcase. She literally said the exact same thing that Charlotte did because she forgot her lines. It was so embarrassing. And yeah, that's one botch. She is so bad, though. Look at a compilation, if that's how you say the word. A group, a series of Tamina matches on YouTube. You cannot tell me any one of those matches is above average, let alone average. She's fucking terrible. So again, I cannot say with pure confidence, with full confidence, that she is the worst second or third generation wrestler I've ever seen, but she's got to be leading the list because she is not good. And I honestly have no clue why she's lasted this long. I really don't. At this point, her name value is nothing because her dad's name was tarnished years ago. I know Jimmy Snuka, they still put up a fucking video package for him even though he died a few years ago, a year and a half ago, despite the fact that he murdered a woman and really kind of technically got away with it. Whatever. But still, with Tamina, it's like she has no value whatsoever. Someone like a Natalya, at least she's a good worker. She's been around for a long time. Like Natalya, I can understand why she's been here for a long time, because she's really good. She doesn't really do much for me anymore, but at least she can have a good match and lend some credibility to other people. Tamina is always hurt, and she never adds anything to anything she's a part of. A Tamina Naya Jax feud, I cannot even begin to tell you how that has just putrid written all over it. That has the potential to be an absolute atrocity. A Tamina versus Nia Jax feud? Are you fucking kidding me? I think the upside of having them on separate shows when Tamina came back to SmackDown about a year ago was to ensure that those two had never crossed paths. Because Nia Jax herself is also really not that good. I'll take Nia Jax over Tamina any day of the week. But Tamina herself is 10 times worse than Nia Jax. And that's saying something. And she's also been here longer. So, yes, to answer your question in short, she's got to rank high up there as one of the worst multi-generation wrestlers I have ever seen in WWE. His next question, do you think all this backlash for Crown Jewel will force WWE to try and get out of their deal with Saudi Arabia in the near future? I think so. First of all, I think it was reported they had signed a 10-year deal with the country, which I doubt will stick. It's been barely a year and they're already having problems. So I can guarantee you that will not last until fucking 2028. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if it lasted another 5 years, let alone another year. Because all the shit they've had to deal with alone, from the shit that happened at Greatest Royal Rumble with the backlash over showing Sasha Banks in a fucking video package. Give me a fucking break. After that whole ordeal, and now all this other shit that's going on right now in Saudi Arabia, it's a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess. And for them to hold the show there anyway, I honestly do not expect them to move the show elsewhere. I know there was a rumor of that. There was a rumor going around on Sunday that they either not canceled the show, but they moved it because they removed the arena information about it on the website. I didn't pay close attention to Raw and SmackDown this week. Obviously, they're still building to Raw to Crown Jewel later on in November, in less than a month. But are they still saying that it's going to be in Saudi Arabia? Like, I think so. I didn't hear anything about that on Raw or SmackDown. I wasn't paying attention. I'm not sure. I think as of right now, they're still going to hold the show over there, despite the fact that apparently many wrestlers are uncomfortable in traveling over to Saudi Arabia right now. And who the fuck wouldn't be? With all the shit going over there right now, why the fuck would they want to be over there? At all, but let alone right now. In the midst of all this controversy and just all this everything going on in Saudi Arabia right now is a fucking mess. It was a mess anyway. But the journalist stuff, It's just a terrible situation. It's a really sad story. Why would WWE have a show there, but then be forced to, very likely, I'm sure this was not WWE's call, I'm sure this was something they were forced to do for the last show they did there, but like put up a video package talking about how progressive the country is. Like, give me a fucking break. If they do the show there, whatever. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, but whatever. If they're still in bed with these people a year from now, I'd be concerned. I expect them to, but I'd still be concerned. But if they show that video package talking about, oh, well, the women can drive now, like, whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, we've been doing that in the rest of the world for decades now, so get over it. If they show that video package in the midst of everything going on right now in the world, and not that they would show it. I mean, I'm sure Saudi Arabia, the government, and the prince, whatever, wants them to show that video package or do something similar, talking about how progressive the country is. Even though they got butthurt over Sasha Banks singing in a fucking music booth in a recording studio during a promo that aired for like the next WWE pay-per-view back in April. Give me a fucking break. If they show that video package, WWE is in a lot of deep shit. Because then they're basically saying they endorse their behavior. If they're being forced to go along with what Saudi Arabia wants. There are ways to avoid this. There are ways to get out of it. For them to just go along just because, oh, we got our money, we're going to do the show anyway. We're going to get our money and do the show. For them to do the show, again, not a good idea. They'll likely do it in Saudi Arabia anyway. But them to go that far to talk about how progressive Saudi Arabia is, despite everything going on right now, despite the shitstorm that's occurring in the country at this moment, would be the kiss of death for WWE. For a company that talks all about their great PR and how they put smiles on people's faces, they're going to start talking about how they endorse a country that fucking kills journalists for a living? Like, give me a break. Dismembers people? Stop. I mean, like, this is just common sense. I know it's not as easy as saying, oh, we're not going, because there's obviously a lot of contractual stuff involved here, and the show's in a mere, like, 2 or 3 weeks. It's not like it's in a few months, so they have more time to decide. It's coming up very quickly. I hope they do the right thing. Do I expect them to? WWE usually does. Like, the Fabulous Moolah thing being a prime example of, like, when people reached out to the sponsors. I think it was Snickers, wasn't it? They reached out to the sponsors of WrestleMania to talk about how, hey, you know, Fabulous Moolah, she was kind of a see you Wednesday. She was kind of a see you next Tuesday. Why the fuck are they endorsing her as the face of this WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal? Let's put an end to this shit. And they did. Snickers said something. WWE doesn't really care what we think, but more so cares what their sponsors think. So they changed the name of the Battle Royal. They have a lot of sponsors, I imagine, are quivering in their boots right now, if not attempting to pull out from their deals with this company because of the shit they're about to do in Saudi Arabia. So we'll see. They're monitoring the situation. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. Honestly, if they move the show, that would be great. I'm not expecting it. They got their money. Vince doesn't give a shit. But they should give a shit because there's a lot of backlash on WWE right now. And it could be maybe not nearly as bad as the Chris Benoit thing from 10 years ago when WWE was like had a prime target on their back for what they did to their performers, not checking them out for the wellness policy, all this other stuff. And everything about that ruined WWE's reputation for years. And this may be no different if they go along with it and continue to do the show anyway and go along with the bullshit that the Prince wants them to put out there on their show. John's third question: did you hear that Impact may want to bring back Alberto El Patron? Will they ever stop doing stuff like this? I did read the rumor. I know you put that in. You sent that to me during SmackDown. I had read shortly thereafter that the rumor was false. So I think the rumor was initially started by Essie Scoops. And then I think it was shot down by some other website. So that's what I read. And I really hope that's the case. I really hope they do not bring back fucking Alberto El Patron, who, yeah, could have been a star a couple years ago. The initial report said, Impact wants to bring him back because his name value outweighs the risks, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. With Impact, they're doing great right now. Maybe not numbers-wise, maybe not business-wise, but in terms of a great product, at least, which is all I really care about. I want the company to thrive no matter what. But if we're at least getting a good TV product, to me, I'm not going to worry about the business stuff. It's the opposite with WWE. Their business has never been better. The product sucks. At least Raw sucks. SmackDown's a lot better. And NXT's obviously great. 205 Live's great too. Raw's awful. The ratings are in the toilet, so I'm not saying they're thriving in that respect, but, still, WWE is flourishing financially, so they're not going to adjust the product just because, the ratings went down. That's not their everything. It does control a lot of what they do, the ratings, just because they live and die by that shit. At least the sponsors do and the advertisers do, which is really archaic in 2018, but whatever. With Impact, I don't know. I mean, their TV product is good. They have a very good core group of guys. I know Austin Aries is not technically... He might be done. He wasn't at their most recent set of tapings. He might be back, I'm reading. I'll talk more about that at the end with Austin Aries. But they have Aries. They have Johnny Impact, Brian Cage, Pentagon Jr., Phoenix, Taya, Tessa Blanchard, Sami Callihan, Moose, Eddie Edwards. They have a good core group of guys over in Impact right now. Why fuck that up by bringing back someone that no one really cared to see an Impact in the first place? I rolled my eyes when they brought him in for their big reboot about a year and a half ago. Who gives a shit about Alberto El Patron in 2018? The guy is a walking billboard for destructive decisions. And he clearly hasn't changed too. Don't give me the shit that, maybe he's gotten better. Dude, he's been doing dumb shit for years now. 4 years. And I loved him in Lucha when he first left WWE. I thought it was great. He was doing awesome work. Then WWE re-signed him because they wanted their next big Mexican star, Latino star, whatever. And it was all downhill from there, and that was 3 years ago. With Impact, he didn't really have that good of a run there to begin with. He was a ginormous, colossal waste. He got suspended for like 6 months or something along those lines because he was an embarrassment to that promotion. How does the name value of Alberto El Patron outweigh the risks? He has no name value. People are not clamoring for more El Patron in 2018. His indie run ran its course. No one really wants him right now. Ring of Honor doesn't want to touch him with a fucking 10-foot pole. WWE does not want him. I know Vince may want him back, which I talked about a while ago, which would be a fucking massive mistake. A massive mistake on WWE's part to bring that loser back. He serves no purpose and has no worth, has no value. They've been there twice before. Been there, done that. We're done. We're done with El Patron, the El Patron experiment. Impact should be too. They've finally moved on. They have a great new regime in now with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore at the helm. Why fuck that up? Why fuck that up by bringing back one of your biggest headaches in the last 5 years with this loser in El Patron? And again, he clearly has not changed based off the most recent Paige situation, where he went off on a fucking Instagram comment about how Paige was, admitted into a mental hospital and she's crazy and I've moved on. She's not pretty, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you were kissing this chica's ass for how many years? And then she fucking realizes that you were a loser and moves on because that you were dragging her down, which everyone else realized from the get-go. And then as soon as she does that, they broke up a year ago. And she's going off on her. He's going off on her in a public forum on Instagram. What a loser. What a pathetic human being. For Impact to do business with that man would be so sad. And again, it's like the definition of 1 step forward, 10 steps back. Because he adds nothing to Impact, they don't need him, and they shouldn't want him. Even if the rumor was false, for that to even be brought up in the first place is very concerning. I do not want Patron back in Impact. He has no worth there, no value, serves no purpose. They don't need him. WWE doesn't need him. Ring of Honor does not need him. Just let him retire in Mexico in peace. Let him just go back to Mexico. If he wants to do some dumb, weird shit over there, whatever. But I really hope WWE and Impact are not dumb enough to pay this guy more money than what he deserves to be paid. Jeremy8911 from Twitter. Thoughts on WWE pairing Big Show up with The Bar? I guess it's interesting. I really don't care about another Big Show heel turn. I don't think many people do. In 2018, I really do not need to see Big Show involved in meaningful storylines. Like when he put over Braun Strowman and Big Cass about a year ago. I was fine with that. I was honestly fine with that because, the Big Cass matches sucked. The Braun Strowman matches were actually pretty good. They had a few of them. And they were pretty solid. And he put over Braun Strowman every single time. So, I don't know really what the purpose is of a Big Show Bar alliance other than just to have a 6-man tag team match with the New Day at some point. Beyond that, I really honestly do not know. I think Big Show's better off in the veteran babyface role. As a heel, it's like, ugh. Maybe they did that on purpose to kind of play off the fact that, it's his 1,000th heel turn. Like, what a shock. I was going to tweet about that, and someone said, you missed your opportunity to say that it was the 1,000th heel turn from the Big Show. Trust me, there's been a lot more than that. Between his WWE and WCW runs, there's been a lot more than that. But in all honesty, to be seriously speaking here for a second, in all seriousness, with Big Show, Jeremy, you yourself said a couple weeks ago, and I could not agree with you more. I liked your idea 10 times more than what they did last night. Why the Big Show when you can insert Cassius Ohno in that same spot? Cassius Ohno, Cesaro, and Sheamus, excuse me. I'm forgetting the members of the bar for a second. Ohno, Cesaro, and Sheamus would be a tremendous trio. It gets Ohno on the main roster. It gets him doing something meaningful. Gets him involved with the tag team champions. They can maybe do something similar to the New Day where they do the Freebird rule. And then we technically get the Kings of Wrestling as tag team champions on the main roster, which would be fucking awesome. Obviously, they're not going with that idea because they brought Big Show up instead. I think they want to keep Cassius Ohno down in NXT for good as like a player-coach type thing, which is fine, but I do think he deserves a shot on the main roster. I'm not saying he's going to light it up like Kevin Owens, but I think if booked properly and if paired off with the right people, he could do well for himself. And I think Cesaro and Sheamus would be those people. His gimmick works in, gels perfectly with that of Sheamus and Cesaro. He has history with Cesaro as the Kings of Wrestling. That would be another great trio for SmackDown. They're not really doing much with fucking Sanity right now, but, it's still something. So I wasn't expecting that anyway. I thought it was a great idea, but why do Big Show when you could do Cassius Ohno? And it would have given you that would have been way more newsworthy. Cassius Ohno showing up on SmackDown 1000 would be way more newsworthy than Big Show turning heel for the fucking 2 millionth time. Ohno debuting on the 1000th episode of SmackDown would have been really, really cool. And he can forever say, I debuted on SmackDown 1000. He feels like a SmackDown guy anyway. So, but they thought it was more fitting to bring up the Big Show instead. Not from NXT, but from the fucking doldrums of retirement. For whatever reason. We have Big Show and the bar. We'll see where it goes. I'm not going to poop on it. I'm not going to poop on it just yet. We'll see where it goes. So far, I'm not optimistic. I like the bar. Big Show, when used in small doses, I like him, but we'll see. Having him turn heel again is not exactly what I would have done, but again, I'll give it the wait-and-see approach. Jeremy's second question, with Mike and Maria now on 205 Live, do you think they should move Chad Gable, Tyler Breeze, and the Singhs to 205 Live as well, and possibly pair the Singhs up with Daivari to feud with the Lucha House Party? Yeah, first and foremost, I love the idea of Mike and Maria on 205 Live. I really do. They have been highly underutilized in WWE now since they showed up a year and a half ago. Now, I know Maria's been out pregnant for like a year now, which is fine, but really, main event for Mike Kanellis, like the guy's better than that. I know people don't really see him as much. I loved his Impact run. I thought the Miracle stuff was great. He could be doing a lot better than fucking losing to No Way Jose on main event. Give me a break. So, again, with Mike and Maria, I think they're a great addition to the 205 Live roster. I don't think he's under 205 pounds, 205 pounds, but we'll see how they explain that tonight. Hopefully, when he shows up on the show again, we'll see. But I think they're a great act, and they could be a great staple on that show as well. With Breeze, with the Singhs, Breeze, and Gable, yeah, that's a lot of Raw undercard talent. Raw does need jobbers, so we can't move everyone to 205 Live. But Chad Gable's a great idea, just because I think he is under 205 anyway, and the guy's doing nothing on Raw. Yeah, the Bobby Roode stuff, but once the Bobby Roode stuff runs its course, they turn Bobby Roode heel and hopefully run with him as a singles heel. With Gable, hopefully they can move him on to 205 Live. Tyler Breeze, too. Tyler Breeze even tweeted, like, I think on Tuesday, he was like, if opportunity doesn't come, like I'm waiting for it, when will it come? And Cody Rhodes quote tweeted it and was like, it won't. You got to take matters in your own hands or something along those lines. Basically telling him to quit, which he should. Because the guy should not be treated like a fucking loser on Raw. And he has been now for almost 3 years. It's been almost 3 years to the day that Tyler Breeze showed up on SmackDown for the first time. He meant something for maybe all of a month before they got cold feet, gave up on him, and then he became a loser like the next week. Breeze deserves so much better than that. Gable deserves so much better than losing to fucking Connor of the Ascension. The Singhs, I like their act with Jinder. Jinder's been a nobody now on Raw since he showed up 6 months ago. But at the same time, they could be doing a lot more. I like the Jinder stuff, but I think they could be doing more on 205 Live. There's no reason they can't do both. Lio Rush is on Raw on 205 Live. Drake Maverick's on Raw on 205 Live. Why can't they manage on Raw and then wrestle on 205 Live? Arya Daivari, where the hell has he been? The guy has not been on 205 Live in like 6 months. I don't think he's hurt. They just haven't used him. He's been sitting on the sidelines now for 6 months. And honestly, I don't blame the company for not using him. The guy sucks. He's not awful, but he is not exciting at all. So a Daivari Singhs feud with the Lucha House Party honestly does nothing for me. Yeah, it might give the Lucha House Party something to do and a new trio to feud with, which is fine. But it's like, Daivari, I really do not care about Arya Daivari at all. Sean Daivari, maybe. Arya Daivari, absolutely not. That guy does nothing for me. But yeah, I do agree with moving the Singhs, Breeze, and Gable to 205 Live. For those that may have forgotten, the Singhs were supposed to be on 205 Live when the show first launched 2 years ago. And they got booted because they debuted on the premiere episode of 205 Live that no one gave a shit about their match. So Vince was like, oh, they're not over. So we put them on NXT, and then they got called out to SmackDown with Jinder, which ended up being the best thing for them. Now that they have more notoriety and more people know who they are, and we know that they can, I know they can work. They're not like fucking Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander in the ring, but they can at least wrestle. And if they're not doing the whole Bollywood Boys gimmick as baby faces, which was stupid, if they're doing what they're doing right now with Jinder just in the ring on their own on 205 Live, I think it can work. So a Singhs, a Lucha House Party feud, maybe without Daivari, I think is perfectly fine. You can throw in Daivari if you want, but I really do not care about the dude at all. But the Singhs could be a nice little asset to the 205 Live brand. At Scarlet One's got a bunch of questions here to close this off. First one being, I have not watched much wrestling in general the past month, so excuse me if these questions tend to ask you to recap the programming. But is it true Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement for a DX Brothers of Destruction match at another Saudi Arabia show by WWE? Yes, it is true. Shawn Michaels back in the ring, back in action at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, teaming up with Triple H to take on The Undertaker and Kane. Some people are looking forward to it. I honestly, it'll be cool to see Michaels back in the ring. I didn't need to see him back in the ring. I'm hearing rumors now that he might be facing AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I honestly think that's more of a fan theory than it is a real rumor. This was the whole thing a couple years ago when there was reports of a Shawn Michaels AJ Styles match at the Rumble. Not really. Yeah, I know Michaels outright said months later that he was offered a deal to come back for that pay-per-view, but I think the fan theory started first. And then WWE's like, wow, that'd be a great match. Let's see if Michaels would be interested. I don't think it was, they asked him and then the rumor got out. I think it was people were pitching the idea, and then WWE's like, oh, that'd be a good idea. Like the whole Batista thing with SmackDown 1000 when he said that he wasn't invited in his hometown. I think it was more of the case of, they invited him after the fact. Because otherwise, Batista would not have said that. He's not stupid. The guy is very open and honest. So he would not have lied about, I wasn't invited, and then they announce him for the Evolution reunion. He wasn't invited. They said, that'd probably be a good idea, because we give them ideas most of the time. They invited him, and he showed up, and he had a great appearance. But anyway, so the Shawn Michaels match is happening. I really do not need to see it. And I mentioned the AJ Styles thing because it would be cool to see Michaels and AJ, and I've said this before on multiple other platforms, but if Michaels is coming back, he better be coming back full-time. Not full-time every week and doing the fucking house shows. But what I'm saying is that he needs to do more than one match. If he's coming back for one match for a fucking DX reunion, what a waste. On a show that no one cares about. And that is mirrored with controversy at the moment. That's stupid. So, do the match. They're doing the match. Whatever. But I hope they do more matches with him in the future. With either AJ or Daniel Bryan or someone else. It's either you go all out or you do nothing at all. Coming back for one match that no one really cares to see that much is a waste of his retirement. You can argue it was a waste of a retirement anyway by coming back for 5 more matches. But at least it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. And with Michaels, I think he can still have good matches. Maybe not on the level that he used to a few years ago. Not even a few, like 8 years ago. But I'm sure he could still have a good match with a Seth Rollins or an AJ or, an AJ Styles. An AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan or a Seth Rollins. So yeah, I really hope they go all the way with it. Michaels is going to go all the way with it, and they don't just do a one and done in Saudi Arabia and that's it. Their second question, I remember seeing a quote-unquote report that WWE was planning to change the direction of the Charlotte-Becky feud by presenting them both in the right. So why is it that I keep hearing the SmackDown creative team is still trying hard to vilify Becky Lynch and have her booed over Charlotte? I don't know if that report was entirely accurate. I don't think that they ever once decided that they were going to have Becky be the babyface with Charlotte. Yeah, I do agree that maybe it would be better if they just embraced the cheers and had Becky be like the rebellious hero. I mean, it would be a lot easier if they stopped fighting it and just turned Charlotte heel, but they won't do that because this company's so fucking stubborn sometimes. So yeah, I don't know where that report came from. I remember reading the same thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That would work better. They never did it. They're still trying to get her booed. Like on SmackDown last night when she was going back and forth with Edge, they still cheered her anyway. So it's like, even though she was like pooping on Edge and pooping on the crowd, they still cheered her anyway. So, that being said, I don't think that's going to change. She's been the way that she's been now for a few months, but at least on the bright side, she's making the most of it, and she has got to be the hottest character in the entire company right now. No joke. And yeah, I mean, I guess you could say look-wise too, depending on who you are. That's all subjective, obviously, and so is the fact that she has momentum right now too. But I cannot name a single superstar in the company at the moment that has more momentum on their side than Becky Lynch. She's been doing amazing work week after week in the ring, on the mic, character stuff, I think has been awesome. It's been all on point. So, Becky Lynch, even though she should be kind of embracing the audience more because she really cannot be presented as a full-on heel because people love her so much, despite that, she's been one of the hottest heels in all of WWE since SummerSlam. Not even hottest heels, just hottest stars in general. Name me a superstar that has more momentum right now in any show than Becky Lynch. Really nobody. There's a few people, like AJ has a lot of momentum, Daniel Bryan too, to an extent. On the Raw side, Seth Rollins did. They kind of squandered that when they brought back the Shield, which was whatever. But I love the Shield, but it's like they're really pushing Rollins' popularity down to what it was before because of Roman Reigns, because they really want a Shield to fucking protect Roman Reigns. So that being said, Becky Lynch is the default, in my opinion, hottest star right now in all of WWE, with more momentum than anyone else. Their next question, is it true Impact Wrestling is doing a work-shoot storyline with Austin Aries? I guess so. It looks like it. Just because I know I watched Bound for Glory on Monday. It was a good show. I didn't honestly pick up on this the first time I saw it. So Impact hits the Starship Pain, Johnny Impact that is, beats Aries for the title. Aries gets up like less than 10 seconds later, no sells a Starship Pain, flips off Don Callis and just walks off. Or like looks up to Don Callis and then flips off the camera in the background and then walks off. The camera was not trying to like pan away. Like, they clearly got it on camera. So they did that for a reason. Otherwise, they would not have showed that. So, they'll be back to it. I just read this morning that they're hoping to make that more of a storyline and bring back Aries as like a loose cannon, Brian Pillman thing. He'll be doing more stuff with Ring of Honor, carrying that character over there too, which is really, really cool. So, it does look like they're doing a work-shoot storyline. Who better than with Austin Aries? I said a few years ago that he felt like the Impact version of CM Punk. He still does. He's been doing amazing work with Impact in 2018. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes. Austin Aries is awesome. And if it means more appearances in Impact and Ring of Honor for Aries, then I'm all for it. Their next question, how's the 4th season of Lucha Underground been? It's been solid. Overall, it's been pretty good. There really has not been a bad season of Lucha, but it's only really picked up in the last couple of weeks. The last 2 episodes, I don't know about tonight. Obviously, tonight hasn't aired yet. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been excellent. Really, ever since Marty the Moth became Lucha Underground champion, the show's been great, which is a weird thing to say, but I thought Pentagon was a great champion too. Anything Pentagon was in was almost always must-say. The other storylines, kind of lacking a little. They weren't good, but they weren't must-see by any means. But the show's been good. I'm looking forward to Ultima Lucha 4 in a couple weeks. I think they did tape more episodes than that. So they will probably be airing a 5th season at some point. Maybe in 2019, maybe early on, or I don't know, after a couple months break, because this season's been only going on since June, which is not long at all. Some of the other seasons went from like September to October, or like May to October, like that's a long time. So I imagine that they'll probably wrap it up soon and then come back for a 5th season at some point in the next 2 or 3 months. But it's been good so far. I would check it out, if only for Ultima Lucha Quattro. There's a lot of matches on that card coming up that have the potential to be awesome. And I don't read spoilers, so I don't know who wins or who's champion or whatever, but it should be another great Ultima Lucha. And their last question, or 2 last questions rather. They say, tell me, has the build of the Evolution pay-per-view been severely underwhelming? It absolutely has been. Absolutely, no question. It has been very underwhelming. Just because, they're really banking on the fact that it's they're really over-relying on the fact that it's the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. You know what? That's good. Congratulations. You're a progressive company. I love it. But it's give me a card I can care about. Charlotte and Becky, last woman standing for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Awesome. I love it. Good stuff. Didn't mean to sound like Vince there. Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. Awesome. Love it. Should be a good match. The finals of the Mae Young Classic. Good stuff. What else is there to look forward to on that card? Honestly, I have no real desire to see Trish and Lita versus Alexa and Nikki. I'm looking forward more to that than I was the 2 previous singles matches they announced for those 2. Beyond that, though, I have no desire to see that match. It's cool to see Trish and Lita back in the ring. It's not going to be an instant classic. I think it could exceed expectations, but the build has been very lackluster, has barely been there at all. And then to make it all worse, to make it even worse, they have since announced a Battle Royal. The coveted Battle Royal, where the winner will get a future title shot at whatever championship they want. Raw, SmackDown, whatever. I'm sure it's going to include some NXT women, some women from the past. They've already announced Tori Wilson for the thing, whoop-de-doo. I love Tori, don't get me wrong, but it's I don't know. We just saw her in the Women's Rumble. It's nothing new to see her back in WWE. But yeah, they have Asuka in there. Give me a fucking break. They have nothing better for Asuka and Ember Moon than to put them in a fucking Battle Royal. What a joke. They also are likely setting up the Riot Squad versus Natalya, Sasha Banks, and Bayley for the upteenth time. We haven't already seen that 6 million times. How many times have Bayley and Banks feuded with the Riot Squad since April? Since they first came over to Raw, the Riot Squad. Who gives a shit? Who cares? So overall, it's been very underwhelming. Even for the matches I'm looking forward to. Becky and Charlotte is hands down by far the most compelling feud in all of WWE right now. No question. The Mae Young Classic and NXT stuff is great and all, but that's not stuff that WWE is doing to get you excited for it. On the main roster, there has been no hype for either one of those things. They maybe mentioned it, maybe, I don't know. But they have barely talked about those matches on the card. And this is a main roster pay-per-view. NXT's done a great job of building up Baszler and Sane, but not everyone watches NXT. The Mae Young Classic has been fucking awesome so far, but not everyone watches the Mae Young Classic. So will they really react when they see whoever in the finals fighting for a spot on the roster, whatever it is? Maybe. They're in New York, not New York City, not in Brooklyn. They're in fucking Long Island at where the old, I think isn't it Long Island? I'm pretty sure it is. I don't remember. Uniondale? I don't know. But yeah, so that being said, I think the build so far to Evolution has really been lacking. And they have another, week? Next week to build to it? That's not enough. I do not care about this card, and I will just say this. I'm very happy I did not buy tickets to Evolution. I'm sure I'd have a fun time regardless, but I was strongly considering going and being oh, that'd be pretty cool to go to and check out, and that'd be really cool, the first ever SmackDown, or the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. Oh, that's great. I really do not care. I really don't. I think it would have been a waste of a trip to go, and it's really not necessarily in my backyard. I really could have gone there if I wanted to. My brother goes to school around there, would have worked out well. But once I found out that WWE really did not give a shit about this card, and they were not going to treat it like a major happening other than the fact, it's the first ever women's pay-per-view, then, I don't know. I really that ruined any intrigue I had in buying tickets to this show. I might be going somewhere else instead that weekend, so I just spent my money on that instead, as opposed to the Evolution pay-per-view. And their final question here, was last night really the 1000th episode of SmackDown? Because I just remember that halfway through typing this. Yeah, it was. You would never know, because WWE has not done a great job over the last couple of months of making it known that this was the 1000th episode of SmackDown. I thought it was a really fun show, And the build to it was well done in the last 2 weeks since they announced the Evolution reunion, which was, I think, in late September, like 2 weeks ago, not even. Other than that, they really had nothing advertised for the show at all. So I'm glad they advertised a lot. They delivered a lot, some of which was pointless. Like, the Undertaker appearance was great and all. Like, it's great to have Taker on the show, but his promo was fucking pointless. Why even bother? Why even bother? Almost as pointless, if not more pointless, than his Raw 25 promo. Anyway, though, with with Undertaker and SmackDown 1000, it was a good show. But it was very clear they did not view the show, despite how big of an occasion it was. It was very clear they did not treat it as big of a deal as Raw 1000, because SmackDown is not their baby. Raw is their baby. They went all out for Raw 1000. They made it a 3-hour show. They brought back The Rock. They brought back all these other stars. They brought back a lot of people for SmackDown 1000 too, and that's great. I was really happy with all the cameos that were made. But still, I think they could have made it even bigger than what it was if they did the same thing for Raw and hype it up like months in advance. They hyped up Raw 1000 like 2 months in advance. They could have done something similar for SmackDown 1000 that they really wanted to. And that does it, guys, for today's edition of #AskGSM episode 255 here today. Thank you, guys, for checking out the show. As always, I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. As always, as I said at the start of the show, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine with your questions for the show at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the 17th. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.